right. I always tell people, depending on your person, if your personality is like mine, online dating is really harder because it's easier for me to meet people in person.
Right.
Yeah. But I say if you're kind of maybe shy, laid back, you're bashful, whatever.
Introvert,
maybe online dating could work out for you. You can make it work, but I say for me personally, I can meet people anywhere. It really doesn't matter.
right. And some people are like that, but it's
Welcome to another episode coming at you from ChooseYourRelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. Like, share this episode, and if you listen to me on iTunes or on some audio platform, I would appreciate it if you would leave me a 5-star review. Love it or hate it, I want to hear what you think. I want to hear your questions, any concerns. You can send it to renegademoney@gmail.com. Send all your questions there. That's renegademoney@gmail.com. So today, I have another special guest. If you ever wanted to know what it takes to meet women online, I mean men and women really, but I'm a man, so I'm gonna speak from a man's point of view. But if you ever want to know what it takes to meet women online, the tips and tricks on how to make things happen. And P.S. and by the way, I've been using online dating for just online websites over 10, 15 years now. But if you really want to know what it takes to make things happen, on how to really use these dating platforms to the best of your ability, this is a show for you today, because my guest has done exactly that. She was one of those people, one of those women that, she was dating. She was on the dating market, and she was alone for a long time. Things weren't going her way. And she decided to get serious and did some research, took some courses, and reinvented herself. And she met the perfect man for her after about 5 years. And then she went on to teach other women over the age of 40 how to do the same thing that she did. So my special guest is Krista Melanson. Welcome to the show. So, where are you from?
I am from the east coast of Canada, Nova Scotia. How about you?
Oh, nice. Originally I'm from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but I live here in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, okay. I have a friend who I just spent 10 days in France with who lives in Raleigh.
Oh, that's about 2 hours away.
I didn't realize that Charlotte was bigger than Raleigh.
Oh yeah, this is like the place to be in North Carolina.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We're going there for New Year's. I'm looking forward to exploring a little bit.
Hey, I'll be here.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Yeah, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. This is home for the rest of my life.
Nice. You find the right place, right?
Yeah, exactly. So how'd you end up in the online space? What made you come online?
Well, I was working. I used to work for an airline before COVID hit, right? and I loved my job. It was great. I worked in the operations center, and it was exciting and interesting and all that jazz. And then COVID hit, and of course I worked for a regional airline. We went from 850 flights a day to 20. So I was no longer needed, as were a lot of my coworkers. So I had to find employment elsewhere, and I took a job at like an extended care home for seniors, doing the same thing. I was staff scheduling, and I just really didn't like it. And then when my job for the airline came back, I looked at it and I thought, you know what, I'm too old to go back to working shift work. I need to find something different. And so I started exploring the online space and started taking courses for relationship accreditation and moderation, mediating, etc. And then I decided that I was going to start my own business and help people do what I have done in terms of relationships and dating, and that is finding somebody to share your life with and wading through all the unpleasantness of dating and the difficult spots. So
yeah. So what do you think about online dating? Just the dating websites, just the whole concept. What do you think about it?
Well, I think in some ways it's a necessary evil. Like 50% of relationships these days start online. So, I mean, that means that it works for at least some people. I think there's a lot of scammers out there. There's a lot of fake profiles, which turn a lot of people off and make them feel like it's hopeless. But I don't believe that's the case. I think that online dating can be extremely effective. You just have to have a few sort of savvy skills to be able to navigate your way through and be able to recognize fake profiles when you see it. But I think that you've got thousands or millions of people registered on these dating apps. There's got to be one or two people in there that would be suitable for everybody, right? So I think that people, I think it gets painted with a dirty impression. People just, it's got a bad reputation, and I think that it is possible to find love, and I think that people should stick with it and try it out and try and make dating fun and not look at every match as your potential future. Look at every match as a potential connection that you make with another human being.
Yeah, I've been in online. I came online 16 years ago. So I met a lot of good people, a lot of great people.
Yep.
I also met some people that were not so great.
A lot of sketchy weirdos.
Yeah, so there's pros and cons, there's positive and negatives. There's some people that abuse it, there's some people that use it for good. But I had a wise man told me, the tool itself is dependent upon the user. The tool
Absolutely.
The tool is only good as the user, So that's just how it goes. Now and I like what you said. There's a lot of things that you would never know because it's not talked about in books. They don't talk about how people get ripped off, how people come online and have sob stories and they prey on people. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that online,
Definitely.
Yeah. But those are the things that you won't see anybody talk about, and nobody writes about it. Those are just some things that you probably will run into because you just don't know.
Absolutely. And I think that, I'm pretty savvy when it comes to things like this. So I'll be honest with you, I'm always a little bit surprised when I hear that people have been taken advantage of. But then I remember that, everybody is different. And because you are a trusting soul doesn't mean that you're stupid or naive. It just means that maybe you need to be a little more careful when you're talking to somebody and when somebody approaches you, right? And that's it exactly, is believing somebody's sob story. And you can be empathetic till the cows come home. And I always, that's the way I am. And I encourage other people to do that. But just don't hand anything over or give people private details into your life until you have at least in some way authenticated this person to make sure they are who they say they really are.
Yeah, you know, it's I agree 100%, you know. And I always tell people, I said, there's certain things you have, if you go on to any site, there's certain things you have to look for. And one example is this. If you log on to any site and you see the same people there every time, those probably are paid profiles.
Yeah, could very well be.
I mean, I'm talking like you log on every time and they're there in the same position. That's, you know, that's, I mean, who's online that long?
Well, and that's the thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of the different attachment styles, but there's basically 3 attachment styles: avoidant, secure, and anxious. And the avoidant attachment style is somebody who, you know, in their head they want somebody, but in real life, you know, nobody's ever good enough, or nobody's ever as good as their previous partner, or whatever. And these people who are avoidant, they show up in dating sites over and over and over again because they are not ready to commit. They are not the right people. You know, they're not ready for any sort of relationship and maybe never will be. So those are the people that you're right, you know, they keep showing up. They're either not genuine or they're not ready for a relationship, and those are the people to avoid. But at the same time, you know, there's always going to be a little bit of overlap. Like when I was doing the online dating thing, I was on Tinder, and I think I was on Match and eHarmony and Zoosk, right? So people in my area would see me on those ones, but I'd like to think I didn't last all that long, right?
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of times it's, you know, every site is different. You know, the algorithm is different, and there's certain sites that's specifically for certain types of people. So it can get very complicated sometimes, you know.
It absolutely can. And a lot of people, you know, get discouraged. Like I said earlier, they get discouraged with online dating. But because of these things, like you said, with the different, that appeal to different people or different groups or different criteria, because of that, people get discouraged because it's like, oh, how am I going to wade through this? How do I know what's good and what's bad, right? And, you know, it's funny, Bumble is one that some women really love because women have to make the first move and make the comment. But then some women hate it because they say, well, I'm a woman. I don't make the first move. The man has to make the first move with me. And then you kind of go, okay, well, you know, everybody's not going to be happy, right? So, you know, it's finding that groove that works for you. And when I first started on Tinder, I remember, honest to God, my 18-year-old daughter said, Mom, I'm going to set you up with a Tinder profile. And I'm like, no, you're not. That's a hookup site. And she said, no, Mom, that's Grindr. And I'm like, oh, okay. I had no idea. Yeah. But Tinder is good because it's easy, right? Yeah. And you can just swipe and, you know, it's very easy. So a lot of people like that, but it gets a bad reputation for being full of people who just want hookups, but that's absolutely not the case. So like you say, there's good and bad with everything, right? Yeah.
So what gave you the confidence to say that, hey, I can help other people do the same thing?
Well, when I was doing the online dating thing, I, you know, talked to lots of other women who were single and going through the same process, and they just, you know, everybody said the same thing, as would I. You know, this is soul crushing, it's demoralizing, it's humiliating. It's, you know, this is just not a good thing. And then when I always like to say, when I met my partner, I drank the Kool-Aid, and all of a sudden I was like, whew, this is amazing, right? This is what I am so happy having found my right person. And I thought, I really want to help other people do that. And I think in a lot of cases, I mean, there's certainly some strategy and techniques and things like that. But in a lot of cases, I think what people need when it comes to dating is support and encouragement. Somebody to stand there and say, hey, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you've got so much to offer, you can do this. And no, that wasn't a good response, so don't worry about that person, let's find somebody else. And you know, if I had had that, my life would have been so much easier. But often when people are dating, and especially online dating, even as common as it is, there's still a little bit of a stigma sometimes, and people don't want to talk to their friends about their dating situation, especially an online dating situation. But having somebody who's, you know, removed from them, or even anonymous the way I would be as a coach, it's easier to open up to them and say, well, you know, I talked to this guy and he didn't do this, or I talked to this woman and why did she respond this way? And strangely enough, it's funny, I have a 20-year-old daughter who is single at university, and I'm helping her through some of these things. And she tells me, you know, I talked to this guy and blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, you know, don't worry about it. This is a good sign, or that's a red flag. And, you know, and she enjoys having somebody to talk to who can analyze it from the outside and sort of help her make the right choices or say the right things sometimes.
Yeah. You know, I always tell people, depending on your person, if your personality is like mine, online dating is really harder because it's easier for me to meet people in person. Right. Yeah. But I say if you're kind of maybe shy, laid back, you're bashful, whatever. Introvert, maybe online dating could work out for you. You can make it work, you know. But I say for me personally, I can meet people anywhere. It really doesn't matter.
Right. And some people are like that. But it's not always, like you said, not everybody is like that. And especially, like, I'm a firm believer that you don't have to pay for the dating apps. So you've got nothing to lose by setting up a profile and putting yourself out there. And if you don't want to talk to anybody, you don't have to. But if you do that, you know, you sort of increase your chances a bit by putting yourself out there in another place, as opposed to just organic. And there's lots of people in the world who just want to meet organically. And I get that question all the time. How can I meet somebody outside of the dating apps? There's no hard and fast list that tells you where you can meet people. If you look it up online, I looked it up online just out of curiosity one time, and it said, you know, the grocery store, the library, the first class lounge at the airport. And I'm like, who meets at the first class lounge at the airport? Who's in there on a regular basis, right? So
that's kind of hit or miss at the airport.
Well, exactly, right? And you can, absolutely. But I think there's no, you can't look for the place to meet somebody, because if you want to meet somebody organically, it's just about going out there and having an open attitude and you know, meeting whoever comes along and being willing to start up a conversation while you're looking at the apples saying, these don't look very good, do they? Right?
Yeah. I think in my opinion, at least one of the best ways to meet somebody is through somebody else, someone that you trust, someone that you've known for a while. You know, you've been around them, you know them, they know you. I think that's probably one of the best ways to meet somebody. And because when you meet the other person, when they introduce you, you know, there's no guards up. You know, it's like a mutual person. Hopefully the other person trusts the person in the middle. So, you know,
it's like a reference.
Yeah, it's kind of like a referral. You know, it's like kind of like that, you know. But now here's what I don't like about online dating is when you're sending messages to somebody, you don't really know if it's them. You don't really know who they are. You don't really know if the picture is real. You don't really know if the pictures are old. And that's why I always say, hey, I want to get the person from online to offline as quick as possible. I want to like get them on the phone or do a FaceTime or something. I don't want to stay on there and send messages for 6, 12 months, 2 years and say I got an online relationship.
Well, you're going to love this. I always recommend to my clients that they meet for just a half hour for coffee, a short break within a week or two.
Yeah.
No more than that. And the person is unwilling to meet with you within 2 weeks of the outside, then that says something. That means they're hiding something. They're not who they are. They're not single, whatever it is. But if they're genuinely looking to find somebody, to have a relationship, and they're interested in you, then getting together for half an hour for coffee should not be a big deal.
Yeah, And what's funny? There was a study came out probably during the pandemic, and it said, I don't even know where the study came from. I don't remember. I don't even know how they really come up with these numbers, to be honest. But they said most people that use these dating apps online, they never meet up with anybody.
There's a lot of people who do that. I mean, it's the endless pen pals, right? And I choose not to work with people who have that goal in mind. I want to work with people who want to find somebody, right? Because I think that's important. I thought about it over and over again, and I'm not a hugely tech savvy person, but I would love to create an app, a dating app where people couldn't ghost you, right? I don't know if you'd have to pay a fine if you ghosted somebody or whatever, but I mean, it's kind of impossible, I guess, to weed through those tire kickers. But the ones who don't meet up, most of the time, they are not who they say they are, right? And so it's true. There's a lot of people who go on and they're bored with their life or whatever, and they're not interested in a relationship, but they want to flirt with somebody online. And, I guess if that's your thing, that's your thing. But it's unfortunate for the people who genuinely want to make a connection and meet somebody who get bogged down in these endless pen pal conversations.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to bring you on, because I felt like you have a great story. Because, you said you were kind of dating for a long time, and you decided that, hey, you wanted to be with somebody. You wanted to find somebody. So, I mean, how did you get to that point? Was there a certain number of events that brought you to that point, or how did you get to that mindset that, you know what, I think it's time for me to meet somebody? How'd you get to that point?
Well, it's funny. I went to a wedding. This is kind of a little aside, but part of it. I went to a wedding, and I was talking to this older lady who was probably about 75. And when you're 75, you say whatever you want, whenever you want, right? And she said, "Are you here with your husband?" And I said, "No, we split up." And she said, "Oh, well, what happened?" And I said, he found somebody better or whatever. And she asked about my family. I told them. And at the end of the conversation, she looked at me and she said, "Well, what man's going to want you with 3 small kids?" And I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks." I feel great now. So, I mean, I thought about that, and that weighed heavily on me. But then, I was so busy with young kids and working a couple jobs. And when my kids were with their dad, I had nothing, right? And I would sit at home and I'd think, I'm here alone, but my kids are supposed to be with me. I'm supposed to have my husband, who's my ex-husband now, but not him specifically, but you know what I mean? Yeah. And I thought, everything I want is somewhere else. It's not here with me. And I need to create a life where I don't feel like that anymore. And I just didn't have any meaningful adult interaction. I mean, I had friends and everything, but you speak differently with your partner than you do with your friend, right? And you lean on your partner because they're there to support you when things are bad, or your partner is there to celebrate when things are going really well, right? And both my parents passed away within a year of each other, but they'd been divorced for years. So it was just a very weird thing. And my brother and I both expected they'd live forever. And all of a sudden, this is going to sound weird, but even at the age of 50, there was no one above me anymore. I was it, right? And I had no one to turn to. And I thought, well, this isn't how I want to spend my life. I need to have somebody. I want to have somebody to share my life with, because my kids, as they get older, are going to need me less and less, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted them to spread their wings and fly and do their own thing. And so I thought, you know what, I've got to find somebody to share my life with. And at the same time, I don't just want a warm body to be in the house with me. I want somebody I connect with and share things in common with. So I, dug my heels in. I knew I wanted a long-term relationship, and I just said, this is it. I'm going to do it. And it took a lot of work. I had to, it was not very effective in the beginning. And so I did studies and took courses. I told you I did relationship, like mediation and counseling and things like that, courses and self-development. And I improved who I was and the way I looked at things. And then I attracted that perfect guy. So it was sheer determination and a refusal to give up, I guess, is what happened.
You put in the work. That's how they say it.
I definitely did. And I kissed a few frogs.
Yeah, that's all a part of the process.
It definitely is.
Yeah. So in a perfect world, who's your ideal client?
My ideal client is really somebody who I'm going to say struggling, but I don't like the word struggling because I don't want people to ever be in a victim mentality, but somebody who is struggling to find their perfect partner, to navigate their way through the online dating, but they have that hope, that eternal optimism that person is out there, and they are willing to invest in themselves, in energy and mindset and whatever it takes, but also they have a standard to which they're going to hold themselves and their future partner. So somebody who knows what they want, is feeling like they're not finding it, but isn't ready to give up either.
Nice. So if people wanted to work with you, where would they go to?
Well, they can book a call with me to chat about their situation and what I can do to help. I also have a Facebook group for women, Dating Success Secrets for Women, and a Facebook group for men, which is Men Over 40 Dating Forum. And either of those the women's group is exclusively women, the men's group is exclusively men, and it's just a place not to complain about the opposite sex, but to discuss and talk about things that have happened and get advice and support for what they're going through. So, and then of course, just my Facebook page, which is Krista Melanson, is a great way to reach out and touch base with me and start a conversation.
There you have it. All links will be found in the show notes. Like and share this episode. Until next time, we're out. Peace. If you like this video, share this video. And if you want to support my channel, click the thanks tab and leave me a donation. 2, 5, 10.